bullets help draw the reader's eye to the first line of each item in a list, but adding bullets to a list can be an exercise in frustration when you don't understand how they work. Before we get into how to use automatic bullets in InDesign, let me show you how to make them manually. I'm going to go to page 2 of this document by pressing Shift Page Down. Then I'll zoom in on this part of the document just so we can see the text a little bit better. I'm going to add a bullet to this paragraph here. So first I'll double-click before the W with the selection tool. That changes to the Type tool and places the cursor in exactly the right place. Type a bullet by pressing Option 8 or Alt 8 on Windows, and that types a boring old round bullet. I'll hit Tab after that, and now we've got a bullet and a tab, but I sure would like to indent the rest of this paragraph out to where that W is. Well, we can do that easily by changing our left indent. I'll go to the control panel when it's in paragraph mode, and I'll add a left indent of, let's say, 1 pica 6. I'll hit Tab twice to go to the first line indent field, and I'll type minus 1 pica 6. When I hit Enter, you'll see that the bullet moves back. This is called a hanging indent. A hanging indent is whenever you have a positive left indent and a negative first line indent. The bullet hangs out in sort of a margin out here. The one limitation, unfortunately, is there's no way to get this bullet outside of the text frame. That is, I can't make the first line indent so big that it would move outside of the text frame. InDesign just won't let you do that. So that's how you make a bullet manually. You know, if you had to do a lot of those, it would become very tedious. So let me show you how to do it automatically. I'm going to select this whole paragraph by quadruple clicking on it, and I'm just going to delete it. I'm just doing that so I can have a nice clean slate to work with. And I'm going to select all 3 of these paragraphs and apply an automatic bullet. The way I do that is by going to the control panel again it's in paragraph mode, and I click on the bullet button. Click on bullet, and with one click you can see that I've got the same effect, a hanging indent with a regular plain old bullet hanging out there. So that's kind of cool, but what if I want to fine-tune it a little bit, maybe use a different kind of bullet? How would I do that? No problem. Go to the control panel flyout menu way over here in the corner and choose bullets and numbering. But if you're tired of going to that flyout menu, then forget it. Instead, just option click or alt click on the bullet number. Option click on this on the Mac, alt click on Windows, and it brings up the bullets and numbering dialog box, and we can see that we can customize our bullets in all kinds of ways. For example, we can choose a bullet character. There's a whole bunch of ones preset here, like these double angles, or this kind of pretty leaf effect. That one's built in as well, and I can see it on the page immediately because the preview checkbox is turned on in the dialog box. If you want to choose a different bullet, no big deal. We just click on Add, pick a font from the font family list. I'll choose Adobe Caslon. I just typed ADO and it guessed I wanted Adobe Caslon. And now we can see all the characters in Adobe Caslon, and there's a lot of characters in this font. So I'm going to scroll all the way to the bottom where I happen to know there's a bunch of bullets and all kinds of ornaments here. And I'm going to select this little right here. That's a little hand pointing to the right. That looks kind of pretty. So I'll click OK, and you can see that it shows up in my list now. I'll click on that, and immediately it shows up in my bulleted list. Let's see what else we can change. We could change the text after. Currently there's a code here, $T, which means a tab character. So we're going to do bullet followed by a tab. If you didn't want it to be a tab, no problem. See this little flyout menu, this little triangle? Click on there and you can choose any codes you want. In this case, I'm going to leave it set to tab, and I'm going to go down here and look at the positioning of it. I'm going to focus on the left indent and first line indent features. You can see that I've used the same values here as I did before. Indent by 1 pica 6 and first line indent of minus 1 pica 6. And the last thing I want to show you here is the character style. I don't talk about character styles until the next chapter, but I happen to build some character styles into this document already, including one that I called bullets. And when I choose bullets, you can see that InDesign automatically applies that character style to my bullets, which change their size and their color. Click OK, and we're done. See, it wasn't so hard to get bullets after all. Now, how about automatic numbering? Well, we'll see how to do that in the next movie. Numbered lists, or ordered lists, whatever you want to call them, bane of my existence. It's pretty easy to do these in Microsoft Word, but it's long been a pain to in InDesign. But now in CS3, numbered lists have really been improved with all kinds of functionality I've wanted for years. But the new power comes with a cost. The feature can be quite confusing. Don't worry though, I'll have you making numbered lists in a jiffy. I'm going to go to page 2 of this document by pressing Shift Page Down, and I'll select the paragraphs that I want to apply the numbered list to. In this case, these paragraphs here. Why don't I zoom into 100% by pressing Command 1 or Control 1 on Windows so we can see this a little bit better. To make these numbered, to add numbers to each of these paragraphs, I simply click on the Auto Number button in the Control panel. You only get this when the Control panel is in paragraph mode. I'll click that, and voila, here's my numbers. That wasn't so hard, was it? And in fact, one of the nicest things about this is I can actually turn that off for an individual paragraph. Let's say this paragraph here is supposed to be part of step 1. I turn that off, and the other paragraphs automatically renumber. That's pretty cool. Let me undo that and show you how it gets a little bit more confusing. Command Z or Control Z on Windows, and I'm going to select these paragraphs again, and I'm going to look at the auto numbering dialog box. And you can get that choosing from the flyout menu, bullets and numbering, but that's kind of annoying. So instead, I'm going to Option click or Alt click on Windows on top of the numbering button. Option click, and there's our dialog box. And this is what's confusing. Oh la la. Well, the key to this dialog box is taking this overwhelming bunch of features and taking it step by step and knowing what you can ignore. For example, we're going to ignore the list pop-up menu here. That's an advanced topic to cover in a later title. The first thing we do want to pay attention to is the format pop-up menu. Right now it's set to 1, 2, 3, regular numbers, but we could change this to Roman numerals or alphabet or whatever we feel like changing it to. I'll leave it set to regular numerals here. We can also change the character style. I cover character styles in the next chapter, but in this document I've created a bunch of character styles already, and I'll just choose numbers out of this character style pop-up menu. And you can see that that character style, with all its formatting, has automatically been applied to all of these numbers. We also have down here at the bottom the indent controls, left indent and first line indent, just like bullets. By the way, this dialog box is called bullets and numbering. That's because the list type could be changed from numbers to bullets. If I suddenly decided I wanted this to be bullets, I just choose that and I get bullets. In this case, I'm focusing on numbers though. So that's pretty much all we need to think about right now in terms of doing basic numbering. But what if I want to have these two paragraphs, right in the middle here, to be a sublist? Like perhaps 1A and 1B. How would I do that? Well, in that case, I select those paragraphs, go back to the dialog box by Option clicking or Alt clicking on Windows on that button, move this out of the way so we can see it better, and all I need to do is change the level. The level is sort of the level of nested lists, one inside the other. So we're going to go from level 1 to level 2. Now suddenly the numbering changes in kind of a weird way, so let's change it to ABC instead, and then we'll get a better picture of what's going on here. So now we've got 1, A, B, 2. That's looking pretty good. That looks very good indeed. But now let's look at the number field here. This is kind of a cryptic little field. The number field tells InDesign how you want the number to be displayed on your page. And if you break this down, you can see that #number is the special code for type the number. Basically type whatever is set up in the format here. In this case, it's the A or the B. Up here, it's the 1. It'll be followed by a period, and then followed by a code, $T, which means tab. So this will be A, period, tab. We might want to change this. For example, I want to get rid of the tab and the period and replace it with something different, maybe a special character. This little pop-up menu on the side lets me insert any kind of special character I want. In this case, I'll choose an end space. It's a good thing I don't need to try and remember that code. Now I want this to say 1A and 1B, so I'm going to click before the #number, and I'm going to put another special code at the beginning of this. I go back to my little flyout menu, and I'll choose Insert Number Placeholder. Which placeholder do I want? Oh, level 1. Because remember, this is a level 2 list, and I want the first number to focus on the level 1. Immediately we see it update, 1A and 1B. Let's change our indents a little bit. I'm going to get rid of the first line indent and make this a little bit larger, maybe 2 picas, just to indent it a little bit more there. And we can see that we have 1A plus an end space plus the paragraph. Click OK, and now I'm ready to go on. But there's one thing I need to point out about these automatic numbers, and that is you can't select them. See how if I dragged on top of it, but it didn't get selected? So that means I can't do anything special to them. For example, I couldn't make it into a drop cap, or I couldn't select it. I might want to copy and paste these paragraphs into another application. It won't work. In order to get them as actual text, selectable, that you can format them, you have to convert them to text. And the way I would do that is simply by selecting those paragraphs, going to the Type menu, and choosing from the Bulleted and Numbered Lists submenu. In this case, I'm going to choose Convert Numbering to Text, and I get actual text now. That's actual editable text. Of course, if I needed to update this, added another paragraph or something, the numbering would no longer work. It's not part of the automatic numbering anymore. It's actually just text. But it does let me do some interesting things, like I'll select that and go up to my control panel here and make this a drop cap. Could easily do that now. You can go in here and remove that end space there and there, and you can get some very interesting effects. You know, this dialog box is a little overwhelming, I admit that, and if you're still a little confused, go back and watch the movie a couple more times, and then follow that by writing a letter to Adobe saying, what on earth were you thinking of when you came up with this interface? I don't know, maybe that will help. It'll at least make you feel better.